All right. Let me switch slide deck these around, and we will be good to go. Nope, that's the wrong one. Help me. I keep finding the wrong one. Aha. Yeah, there we go. Completely backwards.
Did you have to put your number in or anything?
You put a bottom, put your name, and your number.
All right, automating common DBA tasks. Developers, who's in the room? Quite a few. Cool. You just in here to like get raises? Is that what's going on? DBAs, who's in the room? Excellent. I know people are sick of raising their hands. I don't care. I have to raise my hand over and over again. Who's this? Okay. DBAs, who's new at DBA? Quite a few. Cool. Hopefully this will help. I'm hoping it does. I am a huge fan of automation. I supported a couple hundred servers, several development teams, thousands of databases. I was the single on-call guy for almost 10 years on a team of 15 DBAs. Yeah, I hate my friends and coworkers.
Get that shaft.
Well, no, it was my choice. I decided I wanted to do it. One, they offered me more money, and two, I was getting the calls anyway, even though when someone else was on call, they wouldn't answer it, and so then I would get called. So at which point I decided, hey, I might as well collect the cash. But because of that, because of fairly large systems, not huge. I mean, I know people have bigger systems they support, but that's not a small collection of systems. It's not a small collection of database teams. It's not a small collection. It's fairly large. I was a freak for automation. I still am. I just hate doing things twice. I'm just not a fan of it. So, I mean, maybe that came out because I came out of development instead of out of sysadmin. I don't know. But I'm a huge fan for it. So hopefully, we'll hit these goals today a little bit. This is the agenda I'm going to try to follow. I'm going to try to, we've been talking deployment all day. I'm not going to show you Deployment Manager again. Nobody wants to see it. All right? I'm not going to focus on that. Well, I am going to show you some Reg tools, right? But I'm going to show you the one that's open on everybody's desktop most of the time already. I'm going to show you compare. I'm going to show you SQL data compare. But I'm going to show you automation around those tools. Because if you're sitting there clicking on the GUI all the time, you are doing it wrong. Spelled R-O-N-G. Okay? It's just, that's a slow way to get it done. So we can get it done quicker with some automation. I will show you recover database objects from backup, validate data load, maintain lookup data, and audit database structures. This is one we'll spend the most time on because it has more fun scripts than any of the others. All right? Are we okay? Cool. Moving on. Validate production deployments. But you know what? It's not just about production. There's deployments going on all the time. We talked earlier today about deployments to dev, deployments to QA, deployments to wherever. If you're making changes, you want to have a mechanism for validating that the changes have come through okay. There's got to be a way to do it. Deployments happen frequently. There's a lot of changes going on in your systems all the time. It's work to keep track of it. If you're in a system, anybody worked on a system where everybody, right down to the receptionist, had SA privileges? I've done it. 9 whole months I made it at a .com that was like that. Do you know the only person in the company who had enough sense to walk up and tell me, just take me off that list because I don't ever want to touch it? The receptionist. The only person in the company who had any sense. Other than that, I had everybody in the system at one point or another making changes, up to and including, and this was one of my favorite days in the world, when one of the sales guys decided, well, I'm going to review the database structure before the client gets it, so I'm going to just take a look through it. And he found, oh my gosh, he found temporary objects inside the database, so he dropped them. Oh, did I say database? I meant server. He found temporary objects inside the server, so he dropped them. You know what he dropped? TempDB. Yeah, that was a good day. Mainly because I'd never recovered. One, I didn't know you could. Well, you can't now. This was 6.5.
Oh.
They fixed it in 7.0. Thank you. In 6.5, you could drop TempDB. I didn't know you could. And two, I did not know how to recover it. It took me a day to finally figure it out, and I didn't even figure it out. My boss came in, and my boss had written several books on SQL Server way back in the day, and he said, "Oh yeah, you just do this," and like he fired off 4 or 5 command lines, and we were back up and running. And I'd been up all night long. Could have beaten the guy. Deployments that fail hurt, right? The more you get things wrong, it's not simply a question of, oh, you know, rerun the script, rerun the script. Although another story, another Timmy, he used to run deployment scripts 5 times. You're like, what? Well, because he would get errors, usually dependency errors. But if you ran the script over and over again, the dependency errors would clear. I've been doing this for a while. I've got all kinds of stories. You also have to deal with code creep. Because remember, DBAs, remember when I said we're gods astride the earth and we go in and make changes? Yeah, that's helpful sometimes. Code creep occurs, right? Things get changed that nobody knew about. So you're gonna have to validate. You're gonna have to validate things and understand what they did. So the tools I'm suggesting you take a look at are SQL Data Compare for doing data compares, and SQL Compare for doing them. And by gosh, we're going to use the command prompt, otherwise known as DOS, the disk operating system. Okay, and we're going to play with that. So. Oh, looks like Mr. Server went offline. 1 second. We're going to relaunch. Don't watch. Oh, it came over here. Hang on. Cool. No, it's fine. All right. So this is SQL Compare. Sure, people have seen it before, but we're going to back up out of it. Instead of, here's my deal. Yes, we can run SQL Compare and compare to databases. So I can run a deployment script and then compare to that deployment script. But you know what? I've got to have 2 databases online. I've got to be able to compare those things and all this stuff, and I'm not going to be able to maintain that necessarily over time. I'm not going to. What happens if the database changes outside of my control? Okay, don't use another database. We have this facility for comparing to other sources. You can compare it to a database, a backup, or snapshot, or source control. Any of these things. Snapshot is actually pretty handy. All a snapshot is a scripted copy of the database. So I'm going to actually, what I want to do is, I'm going to do a new project. Where's cancel? No, don't save. There we go. Cool. All right, so my local server is named Dojo Randori. And we're going to use my small sample database. I've got a big sample, I've got AdventureWorks, I've got others, but let's use a small one. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare to a snapshot. But if I don't have a snapshot, I have the facility to create a snapshot. I can do this anytime I want. It's pretty handy. All it is a set of files. You create them locally on your machine, and now suddenly you've got a baseline. Oh wait, baseline? Yeah, you've got a comparison point. It's just a set of files on your machine that look like the thing. Yes, you can use source control, SQL source control. Quick, go buy the tool set. Yes, you can use deployment manager to manage all this stuff, and it does all this stuff. Quick, go buy the tool set. But most of you probably don't have that stuff or don't care, and you've already probably got SQL Compare sitting in your desktop open every day. Put it to work, right? So let's create a snapshot someplace. There's my mouse. Where'd it go? Come back here. Shane.
There you go. Got it.
All right, we're going to there. And we'll call it management. We'll call it underscore. Where are we? Atlanta. Yes, I am starting to lose track of that. Tomorrow is Charlton, and the next is Charlotte, and I don't know where I'm going to be. All right, so it created the snapshot. We're now going to, oops. We're now going to, where is it? God, it's not fun. There's compare now. God, it's not fun not being able to see. Right, comparison is done, and hey, look at that. All the objects are identical. Who's shocked? I just created a snapshot of the database and then compared it, and so there's nothing there to compare. All right, so let's do this. Let's make a change. There. And not that one. No. And we're not connected to that anymore. Cool. No, that's my data change. Hang on. Who the heck's using the GUI on my machine? No, we're ahead of ourselves. There we go. And I'll make it so you guys can actually see it. Who wants to see it? It's a complex script. All right. So I can do this. I can alter my table. All I'm going to do is add a column. Right? Everybody okay with that? Yeah. Is this a normal deployment? Oh, hell no. Yeah. Right?
I didn't guess it.
Oh. That's why. Hang on. That's why the, whoops. That's why the GUI was open.
You didn't reset a snapshot.
I didn't reset my snapshot. How'd you know that? There it is. Yes, I'm using the GUI, and yes, I'm making you watch. Mommy and Daddy are fighting. Okay, it's going to lose data. I don't care. What? Oh, I canceled? I thought I hit save. It comes from being blind. What? Heck with it. I'll add the column to something else, and I'm not proud.
Because you're a DBA.
I am. I can do what I want. Heck with you, Dad. Okay. But that's seriously a waste of our time. We can go back here, we can hit refresh. It works real fast, by the way, because it's reading from local files instead of trying to connect up to two databases. And you can see the changes, and you can see the second change that I made. Who cares? That's not how we do deployment. That's also not how you do protection on deployment. Let's go and take a look at the DOS command within the step. I gotta get it right. Let's audit, automated, blah, 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 blah. Ah. Okay, so instead, I'm going to run a couple of commands. First off, I'm going to snapshot the database. Then I'm going to run my prod update SQL script. Then I'm going to run compare. And then I'm going to switch directories to compare. And I'm going to run SQL compare. And I'm going to add one little function. So I'm running against my server's Dojo Randori. The other server's Dojo Randori. The database is what we say it is. I'm going to compare between, instead of the snapshot that I showed you, I'm going to compare to a database snapshot, which, who knows what that means? Enterprise only. Yay. I hate demoing enterprise only stuff, but God, snapshots are so cool. Anyway, I'm going to create the snapshot, and I'm going to create a report that spits out any differences between the two. Okay? So this is a really simple command. It's not complex. It's really straightforward. And sometimes it even works. By the way, if I start typing like PowerShell commands here, it's because I'm not used to being in DOS anymore. So I always have to think about this. Star dot BT. Right, there we go. Valid validate dot that. Shh. They found changes. It spit out a report, and I can go look at the report too. Woo! All I'm doing is advocating for the idea of setting up protection for your servers while you do the deployment. And if you've got enterprise solutions, Snapshot's a fantastic mechanism. Because if you have to do a rollback, it's faster than doing restore. Like lickety-split faster, night and day. But doing whatever deployment you've got to do, then spit out a report to see what deployment you did. It's not rocket science, it's straightforward stuff, but it's automation. So you're not doing all these things manually, you're running scripts. I'm a script-happy person. Okay? Everybody cool with this so far? Excellent. Let's switch back to the slideshow. There it is. All right, data load. Safety net for data movement. Why? Well, one, you get a partial data load. Okay, we have like to load 500 million rows. You guys just load them all in a single transaction, right? And you've got infinite log space, so you just one transaction, it's very smooth. No, you break it down, right? You break it down 100,000 rows at a time or something. You know, I mean, I don't know, pick your number, but you're going to break it down. And it's fine, it works. Except what happens when one in the middle fails? Rollback. Yeah, rollback. Cool. They're hard to find. It's hard to identify. Also, you need more than just a row count. I mean, because I've seen many, many, many data loads that come back and say, oh, yep, updated 10,000 records, no problem.
You know, it's supposed to be 40.
Well, no, it's supposed to be 10,000, but which 10,000 first?
Yeah.
And what did you update? Can I see the column list again? Okay, we got that wrong, right? You just eliminated the production email system. Yeah, seen that too. It's fun. So just getting a row count is just not always there. But if you've got this issue and you need an immediate recovery, you can go to the same route. Now, this is a shorter session, so I'm not going to insult your intelligence and run SQL data compare for you. All right? I am then also not going to run a batch, but I will show you the batch. Because it's worth talking about at least a little bit. Snapshot, same snapshot command. Why not? Update the data, then do this, and then this comparison is more limited. I will show you that. Actually, I should go into that bit. Hang on one second. Come on. Okay, over here.
Which
No,
OS works.
I'm almost excited about 8.1. Just have a start button sometimes. Most of the time, I don't care. I've gotten used to it. I no longer care, but sometimes you just sort of wish you had it. So weird looking backwards the whole time. So the thing about data compare is it's much more limited in what it can access. It can go to backups and source control and the database, and that's it. It doesn't have any kind of snapshot capability. And frankly, why would you want one, right? There's a number of management methods for data already, and so you shouldn't have to add a new one. managing structure, there's actually not that many ways to manage it. So having an additional mechanism, especially one that you can automate, is great. But in this case, what we're doing is just going against either the backups or the source control system directly. But I am doing the same thing in the batch. You'll notice I did the same thing as I did in the other place, which was create an actual database snapshot and then run the compare against that database snapshot. Okay? Everybody all right with that? Cool. Let's switch back over to the slide deck. So I still want to get to the fun stuff. I like spending more time on the other one. Another Timmy story. Sitting in the, sitting in my cube, and I hear an expletive from Timmy's cube. And then the phone rings, and I swear it was microseconds between the two. Expletive, phone ring. Get online. What's wrong with the production database? Nothing. Really? We're getting all kinds of errors. Huh. Well, let me go look. Yeah, you are getting, wow, what's going on? We're getting dropped connections, all kinds of stuff's going south, and I still hear Timmy cursing. And I finally, after about 5 minutes of me trying, what the heck's going on? What the heck's going on? Oh, crap. I stand up, turn around. Tim, what's up? Oh, nothing, I'm just checking which server I'm on. What do you mean you're checking which server you're on? I just dropped the database, I just want to make sure I'm on the right server.
Why would you even type those words?
Huh? Yeah, he dropped the database in the production server.
I'd drop him.
I would drop him. Yeah, he was older than me at the time. Anyway, you can't do that. You get taught. HR has to get involved in. Trust me, had those conversations. They're not fun. And meetings, more meetings too. Plus the sensitivity training is not cool. And the anger management classes.
He would not have permission.
His password would change.
Well, actually, that's what we did. We just took away Timmy's rights for a little while. 6 months. We got sick of the whining, we gave it back. Anyway, the fact is that your first choice is restore, right? It always is. That's what backups are for. Backups are your emergency recovery mechanism. But restore is not always possible, right? This is a production system. It is active. Yes, part of it got dropped and created all kinds of havoc and yelling and screaming. But other parts of it were screaming along, running just fine. And you can't do a log backup point-in-time recovery that includes partial bits of data, right? So to recover all the data that you didn't want to recover, well, no, recover the data you do want to recover without overwriting the data you do want to, you can't do that. So what do? Hopefully, you can go into something like SQL Data Compare and SQL compare between a backup and your database and recover the objects. Or, if you're not running SQL Server 2012, and this makes me angry because I'm running SQL Server 2012 on most of my systems, if you're not running SQL Server 2012, you can use Redgate SQL database, SQL backup to do object level recovery. It has it built in as part of the tool set. So you can use SQL Compare, go against the backup, SQL Data Compare, go against the backup. Again, talking about command prompt to automate the process, or going down here to SQL Backup 7. Now I'm just going to show you the option. I can't show it to you running because it will break.
Are you going to fix it? You're looking for it.
You're talking to the wrong guy. If I had a choice, yes. Whoops. What happened?
Is that what happened to Timmy?
Yeah, Timmy's back. So you can go right into object level recovery. I can't show it all to you because it will fail. But basically, you select the backup as source, and then it will read the backup file and find the objects inside there. And it's just using the SQL Compare engine and the SQL Data Compare engine underneath the covers to recover the objects. So you can manually go into SQL compare and SQL data compare and do the same thing. Okay, but the automation would be through this. And they also sell now this one works against SQL backup files, right? It also sells an object level recovery tool that goes against native files. And neither of them work on 2012. 2012 backup files are completely radically different, and they're able to read them, but to do an automated modification out of them the way that apparently it's hard, and they just haven't written the code for it yet. Sorry. All right, everybody okay with that? Maintaining lookup data. Common data, right? States, countries.
Whatever. Lookup tables.
Yeah, lookup information, right? Everybody calls them different things. Code tables, lookup tables, processing tables. Those are the terms I've heard. But you know what I'm saying when I mean that, right? Or what I mean when I say that. It is getting near the end of the day. My English sentences are starting to transverse. It's getting bad. We had a system where there was a data management team. Notice, not database management team, data management team. And they were responsible for all the lookup data. They were also responsible for table names, and they came up with diddle tibble, DDL, TBL, which does not mean what any of you think it means. No one's ever got it right, because they misspelled the word. But we had to follow their naming standards until we basically said, nah, we're not going to anymore. And they lost part of their reason for existing, which is kind of a cool thing to do to other human beings, but sorry.
You said cruel, right? You said cruel.
Oh, cruel. Yeah, that's what I meant to say, is cruel. I said cool, but I meant to say cruel. Sure,
Right.
we'll go with that. Like I said, talks to HR, meetings.
Right.
That's me. But what they did give us is that they had this thing where they had the lookup data managed, and we had to manage the heck out of it. We had to have version every single row, we had to version every single column, and we had to create mechanisms to be able to spit out a specific version of the structure to any specific database at a point in time. And that was before there was the ability to put code data into source control in such a way that you could manage it. So we built this whole data structure to do the management for us. It was a series of views, one view for each table, for each app. And those views would then version the data appropriately to pull the data out. Oh yeah, it was a blast. Oh, by the way, each view was named exactly the same. So it was a different schema for each app to pull the data out. That was the only way to get it done. It worked, but it was a lot of work. Anyway, the idea is that if you want consistent behavior across all these different sources, you've got to move your data around. Again, we're going to go back to SQL data compare. And again, we're going to show a command prompt. But you know what? I've only got 15 minutes left, so we don't care. Let's go to the fun stuff. Let's talk about auditing database structures. Let's talk about tracking changes. Like I said, other people with SA privileges. Oh my God. It is not fun. That was a blast of a company to work for. There's nothing like making a change to one side of the database and having a stored procedure that never references it break. Whatever. Your server's in an unknown state. You might want to try to figure out what it is. Look at production. See what's changing in there. If developers are developing directly against production, one, okay, I'm not happy, but maybe I can deal with it. Maybe I can find mechanisms for controlling it. If you have no deployment process, then stuff's going and you don't know what's going where or when. You're going to probably want some mechanism to understand changes that are coming out. If you don't maintain any kind of change log, you may want to come up with some mechanism for tracking this stuff. Or the big one, if you've got legal compliance you've got to maintain. You need to know exactly who changed what, exactly when. Right? Yes, source control would be the best way to do this. Absolutely. But a lot of people don't do that. Right? They just don't. Okay. Let's figure out mechanisms around that. Now we have more fun. We do put SQL compare to work. We do put SQL backup 7 to work. We do put SQL data compare to work. We can put the command prompt to work, but why on God's green earth would we want to when we have Powershell? Yay! Somewhere down here.
Middle.
There it is. Yeah, laugh at the funny man. Isn't it your turn to get up here? I'm kidding. Laugh away. I'm fine. All right. We can do something really simple. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to do an output. I'm going to do a SQL compare, and more or less do it the same way as I did before. Do a report, right? Spit out the report and pull the stuff back in. Oh, wait, I missed the script. I missed the shot. I'm too far down. There we go. First, I'm going to set the location to SVN, and I'm going to run a command to check out, CO, check out the files to a location. Then I'm going to set the location back over to my program file SQL compare, then run the SQL compare directly through here, do the report as I did it before, and then check in the files. So check out source control, run a compare that spits out the report, and update source control and check source control back in. Update the files, check it back in. So that way I get a report that shows all the changes. Who's excited? Me neither. Let's go over here. This is where we have fun. All right. First off, we're going to set a few things to get stuff up. We're going to add times to do that, whatever. But here's the important part. I'm going to go and set location over to program file source here. I'm going to check out everything from my Vault system. And I'm just showing you, the first one was SVN, this one is Vault. I don't care what we use, right? Once I'm going into command line, once I'm going down here to PowerShell, once I'm plugging in to automation, feed me, right? VSS will work here. And VSS is horrible, but it will work here. And anyone who doesn't think VSS is horrible, okay, go branch it and then merge the branch. Good luck branching it, and you won't merge the branch. So, see, you know, never. It's true. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and get objects where the extension is equal to .bak. All right? Literally, go into a folder and select every single backup file. So my entire backup file collection is all going to come into here. I'm going to get the full name. I'm going to take out the backs, clean it up. So I'm just looking at where my scripts locations are and my database name. Right? So I'm setting up for each database to run all my backup files. So my entire production database suite is going to get run for this. I'm going to determine if that folder already exists. Folder already exists, great, we keep going. If it doesn't exist, I will create a new folder. Everybody with me so far? You understand what we're going on? Once I've got the folders set up, one for every single database in the system, I've checked out source control if it exists. I then do a comparison between the folder and my backup file. I've never touched production. I'm going nowhere near my production servers. I'm running against only backup files, and I'm running a comparison between the backup files and my source control system that I've pulled out through here, and I'm identifying every single change that's happened. All of them. And then, once I'm done, spit out the reports so I can look at them later. I then commit and check in. totally automated. I've checked every single production server through a compare process. I don't have to look at anything. I can just look at the report at the end of the day, because it puts it out to a common report. I don't have to look at separate reports. This is the way to get your job done on a daily basis. If you are, you would not want to click through this. Even if you set up 16 different projects or 17 or 200 compare projects to get this done, and then you sat there clicking on them one at a time for 200 clicks. One, I want your job. Because you got nothing else going on. I can get some really cool stuff done if that's how much work time I have available to me. Right? Two, you're doing it wrong, right? Automate the heck out of this stuff. There's no reason not to. The tools are there. If you've got command line access to anything, open it up in PowerShell and fire it off. As you saw, all you've got to do is set a path, ./blah, and any kind of DOS command that you could have run, you can run it through PowerShell. Don't get stuck. Well, I can set up DOS or I can set up PowerShell. Learning PowerShell is hard. No, it's ridiculously simple. However, the commands are different, so when you're sitting there typing ls over and over again in your DOS command, wondering what's it mean? It doesn't know what this is. Well, okay, that's the problem, is that you're learning PowerShell, and that's a good thing. But then it messes you up for DOS. Any questions on that one? Sir?
This SQL compare is a module provided by Redgate.
Yeah, that is a thing from Redgate. Yeah, I am demoing Redgate tools. But my purpose is not so much to demo the Redgate tools, to be honest. My purpose is to try to instill in you some of my passion for automation. I'm a nut for it. It's just I just never saw why people wouldn't do it. I watch people click things, and it makes me insane. I mean, the GUIs are cool. I'm not against GUIs. I feel bad because Redgate is like filled with major league user experience design people. They go out and test people to find them to get sophisticated, specialized, great GUIs. Right? That's one of the things that they're famous for. And then I walk in and go, cool, where's the command line?
How do I not have to look at that?
Yeah, how do I not have to see this ever again? Right? And it's frustrating for them. But that's just how I work. I'm a freak for it. I just can't help it. So, compare works with databases, backup scripts, and snapshots. Please, 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 start using PowerShell. If you haven't started, start. Trust me. I said it earlier in the day, and I'll say it again. It's going to be a two-tier system from Microsoft. They've already started. There are certain commands. If you're in some of the Active Directory stuff, some of the SharePoint stuff, there's certain commands that are only available through PowerShell and not through the GUI. It hasn't come to SQL Server yet, but it's coming. I guarantee it. There's more stuff coming through Windows. If you start using Windows Core, you're going to need to know PowerShell because there's no GUI. Right? And Windows Core is pretty awesome. It's very low footprint. It's much faster. It's better. But no GUI. The GUI goes away. It is awesome.
PowerShell's awesome.
It's to a degree, we're going to Unix.
But with objects.
But with objects and decent programming languages. No, .NET is good. Don't shake your head. I like .NET. All right? Hopefully I hit the goals today, talking about some of the automation possibilities. We've got 5 whole minutes before beer o'clock. Are there any questions? Oh, and by the way, I can't hang out afterwards because at 5 I'm closing that laptop, stuffing that bag, and running. So I got to get to the airport, and I've only got 3 hours. I know what traffic's like around here. What?
You've missed your point.
Oh, good. Well, I still have to.
A friend's coming to get me and they're stuck.
I still have to go.
You catch Mata.
Huh?
You catch Mata, you get there in 30 minutes or less.
I have a car. I can't.
Oh.
Oh, shit. I mean, I may see if I can get one of the regulators to do it. Yes.
Some of this is more PowerShell than regular stuff, but I always have a problem with that. I can't find any decent way to do exception handling. There's some trick that I just don't know about. I think there's a setting that just makes it, you have to tell it, if something happens, stop doing things. That's the only exception there is or something.
Yeah, kind of. It's what I recommend is Don Jones has a fantastic book called PowerShell TFM, and you want to make sure, the fine manual. Anyway, seriously, that's the name of the book. And get version 2.0. Version 1.0 was actually not very good, but version 2.0 is. I'm sorry.
You call it like you see it, man.
Hey, version 1.0 of my book was not very good. Version 2.0 is. Yes. I did not do that here, but yes, you can. I've done that. SQL command into a list is easy. Evoke SQL command is the only command you need, and that runs it right off. You can also get into. I like PowerShell. I'm not crazy about SMO. Not that SMO is bad, but I just don't think it's an efficient mechanism for running PowerShell scripts. However, there's only a few PowerShell commands because frankly the SQL Server team has not been beaten about the face and neck enough yet. But they are receiving it and are updating a lot of their PowerShell scripting. You still have to use SMO for certain things, but a lot of it you don't have to. Backups, any kind of invoke SQL command you can do directly from PowerShell and connect directly up to the SQL Server database. One thing I used to do was with threading and remoting, I set up a mechanism. We were doing a massive data center move. I mean, like the entire data center had to go. And so we were shutting down certain sections of it, closing it off from users, and then they were loading it up onto a truck, which then at 5 miles an hour trundled it, half a mile down the road. I'm serious. Half a mile down the road, then they put it back into another machine, turned it on, and hopefully everything was okay. Well, we had to do backups. And so I set up a PowerShell script that would, with remoting and threading, would run the backups on all the servers at once. Because otherwise it was a series, we'd have to run a series of, well, I got to connect to this one and run it, connect to this one and run it, connect to this one and run it, and the runs would be sequential. I connected up to 9 servers, had enough threads for every single database on those servers. Yes, it put some of the servers on their knees while it did it, but we got everything done. And it was just easy. It was doing exactly what you're describing. That was easy. Well, I mean, I'm not that smart. Well, I'm serious. If I did it, anybody can do it. It's not hard. It's just a question of practicing enough so that you've got the knowledge to take off and run with these things. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to let you go 2 minutes early so you get the beer ahead of the other class.
They're probably out there.
Thanks.